Yo guys, what's going on? LifeOfRio here, and I just want to talk to you guys about the really big inconsistencies that I see in Warframe, and that's with the reworks. Now, when you look at reworks, you actually think that these frames are going to get a great rework. We're actually going to see a lot more quality of life. More players are going to pick these frames up, and they're going to do a lot better, and they're going to be, some of them become easier to play. You just like them a lot better because their move actually synergize. They're going to get synergy. Now, when I look at it and I say inconsistency, and I say that because when I looked at the Oberon rework and I looked at the Limbo rework, the Oberon preview for visual changes looks amazing. The wordplay that DE put behind his moves sounds great, but we don't know until we see it actually in game. So we're gonna have to see that one to play test it to really call it a good rework. Now, the thing is, since we don't have the actual numbers for Oberon, we're just gonna go off his visuals. The visuals and everything looks amazing. Now, Limbo looks exactly the same, but the mechanics behind Limbo's changes were actually great. The stopping you in time type feel was amazing. Given the fact that they did nerf his fort, this is still not a problem. I still clarify it as a good rework for Limbo, a good quality of life change, because it really opened up the door for more players to actually use Limbo, which in my book is a success, because if you do a rework and more players are using that frame, the frame is a lot more enjoyable, then it is definitely a successful rework, and then with abilities that are actually helping out the team instead of working against it. So let me tell you what sparked my conversation was when I went through my arsenal and I looked through Ash's kit. And I seen Rising Storm. Now I looked at this and I said, why am I not using this augment? Because you guys know I'm always coming up with new builds. And then I said, oh, I know why, because the mod is trash. And so when I really paid attention to it, I was like, the mod was good previously before this augment came out, which is body count and drifting contact, because body count and drifting contact actually do the same exact thing as Rising Storm. So what I really looked at was, why wasn't Ash's augment revisited at the same time as his rework, like how DE came out and said publicly that they're going to revisit Oberon's augments and actually make changes accordingly towards his rework with his augments. So that's why I say it's a lot of inconsistencies. And for Ash's rework, now here's the thing, Ash's rework was actually on the table for DE for an extremely long time. So for that rework to be there on the table for that long, for the community to be waiting that long for that rework, and we actually got what we received, it was actually pretty terrible. Now, let's go over what we did receive with Ash. Now, Ash's first ability, which is Shuriken, which is what I'm throwing right now, actually didn't get no quality of life change, nothing to it, no visual updates, nothing at all. Now, that right there is one. I mean, all reworks, there should be something that's a little bit fine-tuned here and there, and I think that his one should have definitely been altered a little bit to at least have synergy with one of his abilities. And I think the biggest synergy that his one could have actually fit into was when he's marking them with 4. And whenever he's marking them with 4 and how many dots or whatever come over their heads when you hit them with a shuriken, it could do a multiplicative number of damage towards those people that are actually marked. Now, that's just me throwing out ideas there. Now, with his second ability, the only quality of life change that the second ability actually received was actually a mobility change and mobility buff to where he could throw it in the air. Now, to me, that's actually not needed of a rework. That could have just been a hot fix to where they actually put that in the game for Ash. So I don't really call that a really big change into a rework, since that's basically all that he received. Now, when you look at Oberon got his first, visually his moves look a little bit different, but the moves are basically the same, right? So his 1 does scaling damage. You have his 2, which is like a AoE. His 3 got a giant wave looking like Nova. His 4 basically looked the same, but has synergy off of his 2 and his 1. Now, Ash didn't get any synergy. Now, his second ability, like we said, that's all he got was mobility. His third ability, which is teleport, got no change at all, no added benefits, no synergy at all. So I'm basically looking at it like, okay, now his 2, you could have gave him more time on his invisibility to let it scale more. You could have increased the stun duration for when he do pop invisibility. Enemies are remained in a stun duration a little bit longer, which will create a little bit, a little class of CC for Ash in some kind of way. Now, You also look at this one, his fourth ability was the only one that was actually you know, changed a little bit, that got a little quality of life, and this is not in a good way. Now his fourth ability was actually nerfed on damage, and a lot of people like to say, well, actually not a lot, a few people are saying that it wasn't actually nerfed. They're bringing out these crazy numbers. Listen, Ash's fourth ability, when you're doing high level runs, used to go up to 45 seconds. He'll keep blade storming. 45 seconds up to a minute, he'll keep blade storming. And if you don't believe me, you can go back and watch my previous videos on Ash. So I test everything with Ash and know how it goes. So with this, you put 3 marks over the enemy's head, which we all know, and he does damage on that for a set duration, which they only attack 3 times, which is actually, it's really 5, because if you add Ash in there, they add damage for 5 times. But when I look at it, it got nothing. So I say it's inconsistency, because it's one of the most recent reworks, and then it gets nothing prior to helping out his kit. It just actually lowered his kit, and Ash is a DPS frame. So I'm looking at it like, why lower your DPS frame? Because there are roles in Warframe, and we all know this. There's tanks, DPSs, controllers, healers, different things, even though there might just be 3 healers including Equinox, but there are roles. And then if you're doing certain mission, Warframe is the type of game to where they have it to where they want all frames to be able to do everything, but it's not always like that when you're doing long runs or whatever it is you're doing. If you're doing higher level content, you're gonna need that DPS. So why lower your DPS? Because they were so afraid of the community to actually change up that fourth. To me personally, what I'm pushing for, just take away Ash's fourth ability, because the community wanted the animation change to where you're locked in, and they didn't do that. They didn't change that at all. They're still the same press 4 and watch the cutscenes. People wanted that change. The main other problem was also his fourth ability, locking enemies down. Whenever he marked 18 targets, you could not kill them or get any kills. They changed that as well. But let me know what you guys feel in the comment section with this inconsistency. And I really don't like it. So we really have to call it when we see it for Warframe, just so that this trend doesn't continue. But I hope that you guys enjoyed the video. I will catch you guys later on the next Warframe episode. And guys, listen, man, hit the thumbs up button if you guys did enjoy it, please. And thank you. You guys are amazing with the support. I am just so thankful. Hey, listen, I think I might be streaming. I might be streaming tomorrow.